We are just a week away from the Baltimore Ravens kicking off the 2025 NFL season against the Buffalo Bills, and I, for one, could not be more excited. Welcome into the show, everybody. What we're doing on today's program, I'm giving you my final 2025 record prediction. I did this back in May when the schedule came out. I thought I'd revisit it, do it again right before the season to get my final claims in. If you want the Ravens to win the AFC North this year, if you want them to three-peat the AFC North, I need you to do me one big favor. I need you to hit that thumbs up button, like today's video. If you're a real one, you want to see this happen, then you'll like the video. Alrighty, it starts out with a very, very fun one on the road against Buffalo, Sunday Night Football. Of course, we'll be live for that one. And although it's Josh Allen, although it's in Buffalo, I got the win for the Baltimore Ravens. Okay, I just think that Buffalo's a great team, right? I don't think the weather will be necessarily as in their favor as it was in the playoff game. I like the Baltimore Ravens starting off the season hot. I love, Derrick Henry being 100% healthy, Lamar being 100% healthy, all these guys being 100% ready to go. And I think they dominate in week 1 against the Bills. Maybe not dominate, but they win. Week 2, let's talk about domination because they take on the Browns. Funny enough, most likely Joe Flacco is going to be the quarterback of that game. I do think they beat the Browns. I know they lost to the Browns early in the season on the road last year. I think it was about week 6, week 7 maybe. I don't think that happens again. I think this is a better team than it was last year. I think they're more disciplined, and because of that, I think they get the win at home against Cleveland. Week 3 against the Detroit Lions. I think that's a win as well. I think it's one of those. Right? Detroit's going to be a good team. They did lose their coordinators, okay? And I think that Jared Goff's going to take a little bit of a regression, but they still have a lot of talent. I think if that one was in Detroit, I would maybe lean a little bit more towards Detroit in that one. But because it's at home, because it's in Baltimore, and because they're wearing the black uniforms for them, you're not going to lose in those. Give me the win against the Detroit Lions. This is my first loss on the season, okay? Week 4 in Kansas City playing the Chiefs. And I get it, okay? Rashee Rice is not going to be playing in that game. 6-game suspension. He accepted that on Wednesday of this past week. They don't have a ton of unbelievable weapons outside of Rashee Rice. Obviously, Xavier Worthy. Obviously, Travis Kelce. But it's that defense, really, that makes the Chiefs something special. And Rashee Rice doesn't play defense, okay? They're still going to have all their 11 guys out there. They're still going to have Steve Spagnuolo. And I think this team has shown, they kind of struggle to win on the road in Arrowhead. I know they had all the chances in the world to beat them last year, and I believe that if they play them at home, they would have beaten them last year. And I believe this year, if they play them at home, that's just a really tough place to win against a really good coaching staff and against a really, really good team. So even though Rashee Rice is not there, I think their first loss of the season comes in week 4 against Kansas City. What do you think the Ravens' record is by week 4? Let me know, okay? Because it's a really hard starting schedule. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. It's going to be very interesting. But I think it's going to be hard to go undefeated, okay? I've got them 3-1. You let me know how you got them in the comment section down below. Week 5, they play against the Houston Texans, and I think this one is going to be a win. I think the Houston Texans kind of have just a lateral season this next year compared to what they had last year. And last year's season was a step backwards from what they had the year before. I like C.J. Stroud. I'm not going to 100% buy into this fact or this, narrative that he's a top 7, 8, 10 quarterback in this league. I think he's good, but I think he struggles at times. And that team is not as whole as a lot of people think they are. They still got a lot to figure out in the offensive line. The running back position, Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb. Joe Mixon's a little bit injured right now, and I think you do what you did to them last year on Christmas. You run all over them, and you win the ball game. Week 6 against the Rams. This one's at home, but I think it's going to be a loss. Obviously, if Matthew Stafford's playing in that game. His health has been a little bit questionable so far throughout the entirety of this offseason, but I do think it's a loss against the Rams. Look, you can't win every game. I'll just start off by telling you that, and I think the Rams are going to be really good this year. In fact, I would not be surprised if they went to the Super Bowl from the NFC, okay? They've got a really, really loaded roster. They got one of the best coaches in the National Football League. Their edge rushers, their defensive line is elite. I think you lose that game even though it's at home. Week 7, you get your bye. Week 8, you play the Bears in M&T Bank Stadium. I think that one's a win, okay? The Bears are going to be better this year with the addition of Ben Johnson. I think Ben Johnson is a really, really good football coach. I think he's going to be great for Caleb Williams. But I still think they have their shortcomings as a football team. They're on the right trajectory for the first time in a long time. But they still have a ways to go until they're competing with teams like the Baltimore Ravens, especially when the Baltimore Ravens are at home, okay? So give me the Ravens over the Bears in Week 8. Week 9, you go on the road, you play the Dolphins. I don't think it matters, though. I think you get that win. I think the Dolphins are going to take a pretty big regression this next year. Their secondary is horrendous, okay? Their defensive line is good, great. Linebackers, fine. Offensive line, fine. Tua still is kind of a question mark right there at quarterback. The running backs are hurt. Tyreek Hill situation's interesting. Obviously, they have Jaden Waddle there as well. But I think you beat the Dolphins, and I think Mike McDaniel, this is his last year in Miami. Week 10, you go on the road to Minnesota. I think that one is a loss. Brian Flores, I think, is the best defensive coordinator in the game right now. So if anybody is going to be able to create a game plan to slow down Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, and this Ravens offense, I think it's going to be one Brian Flores. They're going to throw a ton of simulated pressures on you. Their front is going to run a ton of stunts. Like, they're just a really good unit. They're sound. They're smart. They don't make mistakes. And I think you're going to get bitten right there in Week 10 on the road against the Vikings. Your road trip continues in Week 11. You go on the road. You play the Browns. You beat the Browns. Who knows who's going to be quarterback at this point? I don't think it'll still be Joe Flacco. I would kind of lean towards Dylan Gabriel at this point in Week 11. I think regardless of who it is, you beat the Browns because they're the Browns. Week 12, you play against the Jets at home, and you win. The Jets are going to be fine with Justin Fields. I'm not that big of a Justin Fields fan. There's a reason this is his third team in 4 years in the National Football League, maybe 5 years in the National Football League. He's a fine quarterback, but he has a lot of faults in his game. Makes a lot of mistakes. He's nowhere near perfect. He's nowhere near great, okay? And at the end of the day, they may have gotten better with Aaron Glenn, but that roster compared to yours is much worse. Week 13, you play the Bengals. This is Thanksgiving. This is at home in the Purple Rises. If we know anything about Lamar Jackson, he doesn't lose to the Bengals on Thursday Night Football. We saw that last year and probably the most exciting game of the year. I think they win against the Bengals on Thanksgiving. I think, funny enough, somehow Cincinnati's going to have a worse defense than they did last year. Now, they did figure out the contract situation with Trey Hendrickson. He will be playing, but regardless, I think they're going to miss the playoffs again. Oops, I said it. Hot take. You heard it here first. Where do the Ravens finish in the AFC North? What do you think? Okay? I think they still win it. But you let me know in the comment section down below. Speaking of winning things, I've got something that if you purchase it, you're going to feel like a winner. Okay? Chatsports.com/purple hoodie. That link is in the comment section and description of today's video. And you know why you'll feel like a winner if you go ahead and add this to your closet? It's because it's only $34. It was $70. Now $34. That's more than 50% off. It'd be hard to not feel like a champion if you just scored that deal. Well, it's available right now. Again, chatsports.com/purple hoodie. It's starting to get a little cooler. Believe it or not, here in Dallas, it's starting to get a little bit cooler. Only 91 degrees right now compared to 101 this time last week, okay? I know it's crazy to be buying hoodies now, but that just means, you know what? By the time the cold runs around, they're not going to still be $34. Take advantage of it while you can. The leaves are going to change. I can promise you that. Seasons happen every year. Soon it's going to be winter. You're not going to be able to get this deal. Chatsports.com/purple hoodie. Week 14, you play the Steelers at home. You beat the Steelers at home. I'm not scared of Pittsburgh this year. I'm not scared of Aaron Rodgers. I'm definitely not scared of Arthur Smith. I'm not scared of Caleb Johnson, their rookie running back. He's not very good. I'm not scared of their pass-catching options because outside of DK Metcalf, they really don't have a ton. I'm not scared of their offensive line. I'm not scared of Pittsburgh. Straight up. They're a worse team than they were last year. And last year, at the end of the season, in the playoffs and in Week 17, you dominated them. You do the same thing in Week 14. This time you go on the road against Cincinnati. I actually think you lose that one just because that's like your third straight divisional game. And I think we know, and we've seen before, that teams after playing the Steelers, their win-loss record isn't that great. It's kind of the same as teams playing Philadelphia and San Francisco. Those are really physical teams. You're kind of beat up. You're kind of tired after. I think that factors into this. And also, you're going on the road, okay? I think you're better than the Bengals. You're definitely more of a well-rounded team than the Bengals are. But I do think you lose it because it's on the road and because it's after playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. Week 16, you take on the Patriots, and you beat the Patriots. I think they're going to be better. I think they're probably trending in the right direction as a franchise. I think they have the right head coach. I really like Mike Vrabel. Drake May seems to be the guy, possibly. But, again, you look at sheer rosters, you got a better one than them at almost every single position. You beat New England. Week 17, you're on the road. It's Lambeau Field. I think you lose it, okay? You're going to be playing in cold weather. Very, very cold weather. And we know Lamar Jackson doesn't do his best in cold weather. Now, he's not terrible, but he's not nowhere near the Lamar he is when he's playing in September and it's sunny or it's nighttime and it's 70 degrees. He's a Florida boy. That's just kind of what it is. I also think the stakes might be pretty high for Green Bay in terms of their divisional race at that point in Week 17. They just might need it more than Baltimore does. And so because of all those factors, I think Green Bay wins. Week 18, you're on the road against the Steelers. You beat the Steelers. Okay, and what might be Aaron Rodgers' final game of his career. Would not be surprised one bit if it is, because I think, again, they're not going to be very good. My final record prediction, 12-5. Okay? Think it's going to be a pretty good year. I think that's going to be enough to win the AFC North. Again, I think this team can win 14 to 15 games this year. I think if everybody's healthy, their ceiling is probably 10 wins. Or, excuse me, the floor is probably 10 wins. So I think 12-5, that's a really great season. I'd sign up for that right now. What do you think the Ravens' record is in 2025? I just gave you my prediction. I gave you what the record is. You let me know in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, you'll find the links to my Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you click those. Give me a follow at Joey Petersen 8. And above anything, make sure you're subscribed to the Ravens Rundown, okay? Daily content on the Baltimore Ravens right here, 100% free. You're not going to find it better anywhere else. So we appreciate you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next time.